Okay guys, sorry I'm out today. Appreciate your time and attention. If you guys will just kind of watch through, and if we need to hit pause at any time, just raise your hand and let someone know. Real quick, we're going to go through all these examples. These are from yesterday. So first thing we start off is identifying number one as being corresponding angles. Now because corresponding angles are congruent, we know that that question mark has to be 133 degrees. That's pretty straightforward. On the second example, we do the same thing. We identify those also as being corresponding, so these first two examples are corresponding. Because corresponding angles are congruent, we write an equation. So you can see that this equation right here, 105, is going to be equal to 16x minus 7. So we write that out as an equation, and from there it's algebra, math 1, and we solve. Got any questions? Raise your hand. Numbers 3 and 4, we notice are the Z pattern for both of those. The Z pattern is alternate interior angles. They're on the inside and they're on alternating sides of the transversal. So we also know that alternate interior angles are congruent, so very quickly that question mark has to be 101. Over here on number 4, again you see the Z pattern. So again, alternate interior angles. And because they're congruent, we're going to set an equation of 14x plus 8 equals 120. Once we know 14x plus 8 equals 120, we get to solve that. And I know that I'm solving these probably faster than you, but all you got to do is hit pause or take your time and do that. Raise your hand if you've got any questions. 5 and 6. We look at 5 and 6. We notice the parallel lines. By the way, if I didn't mention it before, these little arrows here, the red ones, those are parallel lines. So these two angles, their relationship, alternate exterior. We know on our flashcards alternate exterior angles are congruent. Because they're congruent, we just know they're equal. Same relationship on number 6, alternate exterior. And because on number 6 they are congruent, alternate exterior are congruent, we write another equation and we solve. Now's a good time to raise your hand with any questions. Seven and 8. We're trying to find the relationship that exists. Again, I notice the parallel lines for each of those. I look at the relationship between these, and now we're talking about vertical angles. Vertical angles also on our cue cards are, on our flashcards, are congruent. So vertical angles are congruent, so therefore if this one's 80, the other one must also be 80. Remember, those are a reflection of each other, which is an isometry. On this side, once again, identify that they're vertical angles. Once we know they're vertical, we know they're equal. And when we know they're equal, we have an algebra equation. Raise your hand with questions. To identify the relationship here, again, notice the parallel lines. Very important. These are both on the inside, and they're both on the same side of the transversal. So remember, we call those same side interior. So we look at our flashcard, we know same side interior angles are supplementary. So remind me what supplementary means. It means that these two together will equal 180 degrees. Very important that you write that statement down right here. Once you have this statement, even though that's a question mark, you can still solve. And you know that that question mark has to be 83 degrees. Number 10, very similar. Once again, they're same side interior. And because same side interior angles are supplementary, we know that this angle plus this angle has to equal 180. Very important to write that down. From there we solve, we have like terms, isolate the variable, and we end up with negative 10. Now generally we don't like negatives with geometry, but because this is an x, it really doesn't matter. If we plug this back in, it'll totally work out. Here we have a slightly different looking situation, but it is same as what we did yesterday. These two angles together make a line. So we remember that that's called a linear pair. Now remember, your sheet, we called it a linear pair, but it was also called adjacent. Linear pair is definitely the better way of saying that, but linear pairs are always supplementary. And because they're supplementary, we start with this equation again. Always start with this equation and then solve. Eventually, some of you will be able to do this part on problems like this totally in your head. You won't have to worry about it. Over here, again, if these two angles together make a line, then it's a linear pair. And since linear pairs are supplementary, we know that those two angles together have to equal 180 degrees. Two sets of like terms. Two sets of like terms here, the x's and the constants. And then when you divide by 9 at the end, you get x is 19. Last set here. These time they're both on the same side of the transversal, but they're on the exterior, so same side exterior. This was the one that we had a little issue with in first period, but we've got it straight now. We know that same side exterior angles are supplementary, so once again, together they have to equal 180 degrees. And over here on number 14, again, same side in exterior. Same side exterior angles are supplementary. So together they equal 180 degrees. I know that went really fast, guys. You're welcome to rewatch these. You can stop at any time, go back and look at any of these. If you have questions, please raise your hand and ask, and you guys will work on some of these on your own. We will see you Monday. There will be a quiz on Monday, by the way, on all of this. Make sure you have your work done.